On the afternoon of February 5, 2026, deputies were dispatched to what initially appeared to be a routine medical emergency in a quiet residential neighborhood in Ooltewah, Tennessee. A 911 caller reported that a woman inside the home was not breathing and that CPR was being attempted. But when officers arrived, it quickly became clear that something was terribly wrong. What they had been called to handle as a medical emergency soon turned into something far more serious, the beginning of a homicide investigation. Inside the house was a man named Darron Lee, a former NFL linebacker whose life once revolved around stadium lights, roaring crowds, and the dream of professional football. Now, his story had taken a much darker turn. Sports careers often follow a familiar path. A talented athlete rises through high school and college competition, reaches the professional level, and eventually fades from the spotlight as the years pass. Sometimes those careers end quietly, with unrealized potential or expectations that were never fully met. For a time, Darron Lee's story seemed like it might follow that same pattern. But today, his name is no longer discussed in sports highlights. Instead, it appears in court records and criminal headlines. Just 10 years after hearing his name called on NFL draft night, Darron Lee now sits behind bars, charged with first-degree murder. To understand how things reached this point, we have to go back to the beginning. Darron Lee grew up in New Albany, Ohio, a suburb outside Columbus. From a young age, it was clear that he was a gifted athlete. Coaches noticed his speed, strength, and natural instincts on the football field. At New Albany High School, Lee quickly became one of the most dominant defensive players in the region. His performances caught the attention of major college programs, and before long he had scholarship offers from several schools including Boston College, Duke, Illinois, Purdue, and Minnesota. But Lee decided to stay close to home. He committed to play football at Ohio State University, one of the most prestigious programs in college football. At Ohio State, Lee developed into one of the most explosive linebackers in the country. His size and speed allowed him to cover huge areas of the field and disrupt plays consistently. One of the defining moments of his college career came during the 2015 Sugar Bowl, a college football playoff semifinal between Ohio State and Alabama. The game was watched by millions across the country, and Lee delivered the performance of his life. He recorded 7 tackles and 2 sacks, repeatedly pressuring Alabama's offense. His performance earned him the title of Defensive MVP of the Sugar Bowl. Moments like that can change a player's career overnight. Just 11 days later, Ohio State defeated Oregon to win the national championship. With a championship ring and rising draft stock, Lee made a major decision. He declared for the 2016 NFL Draft. At the NFL Combine, Lee impressed scouts almost immediately. In the 40-yard dash, he ran a remarkable 4.43 seconds, an incredibly fast time for a linebacker and faster than many wide receivers. That performance helped solidify his status as a top prospect. When draft night arrived, Lee waited anxiously as teams began making their selections. Eventually, his name was called. The New York Jets selected him with the 20th overall pick in the first round of the 2016 NFL Draft. It was a life-changing moment. Lee signed a 4-year contract worth more than $10 million in guaranteed money. After years of hard work, he had reached the highest level of professional football. But the transition to the NFL proved far more difficult than many expected. Lee's rookie season was disappointing. According to Pro Football Focus, he was graded as the lowest-ranked rookie linebacker in the league that year. Things didn't improve much in the following season. Among 88 linebackers who qualified for evaluation, Lee ranked 87th. In 2018, he faced another setback when the NFL suspended him for 4 games after a violation of the league's performance-enhancing drug policy. During 4 seasons with the Jets, Lee appeared in 43 games and recorded 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 241 tackles. Those numbers were respectable, but far below the expectations placed on a first-round draft pick. Eventually, Lee moved between several teams. He spent time with the Kansas City Chiefs organization during their 2019 championship season and received a Super Bowl ring, although he did not play in the playoffs. Later, he had brief stints with the Buffalo Bills and the Las Vegas Raiders. By 2021, his NFL career had effectively come to an end. He never made a Pro Bowl and never became the star many believed he would be. His football career slowly faded away, but in the years that followed, his name would appear in headlines again, this time for something far more troubling. By early 2006, Lee was staying in a rental home in Ooltewah, Tennessee, just outside Chattanooga. Around that time, he was in a relationship with a woman named Gabriella Carvalho Perpétuo. Friends and family knew her as Bella. Bella was 29 years old and described as warm, energetic, and compassionate. She had a natural ability to connect with people and made those around her feel welcomed. She grew up in Massachusetts before her family moved to Florida when she was 15. As a young adult, Bella moved to New York City, where she initially pursued a career in clinical journalism. She was fascinated by stories within the medical world and the human experiences behind healthcare. But eventually she realized she wanted something more. She didn't want to just write about patients, she wanted to care for them. That realization led her to enroll in nursing school. Her goal was to work with newborn babies, helping care for them during their most fragile moments. By early 2006, Bella was just 3 months away from graduating. Her future seemed bright, but that future would never arrive. On February 5, 2026, at approximately 1:30 in the afternoon, a 911 call was placed from the home Lee and Bella were staying in. Lee told the dispatcher that his girlfriend was not breathing. Emergency responders rushed to the scene expecting a medical emergency. Instead, they found Bella lying unresponsive on the living room floor, while paramedics attempted to revive her. Officers quickly noticed injuries on her body that raised concerns. Lee told investigators that he had been sleeping upstairs and woke up to find Bella unconscious on the couch. But the scene inside the house told a different story. However, broken glass was scattered across the kitchen floor. Even more concerning was the presence of blood in multiple areas throughout the house, on the walls, floors, and staircase. Investigators also noticed cleaning supplies placed around the home in unusual locations. The placement suggested that someone had recently tried to clean something, and what they appeared to be cleaning was blood.
She take like any pain pills or anything like that?
Is she?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
She always takes her vitamins or whatever. I have no idea. I was just upstairs. I came down. She was laying right there.
Where is she to you? Where's her medicine? Where's the medicine?
These are here, I don't know.
Hey, sir. If you just hang out, we'll just see you, okay?
Pack my
Where's your phone?
Lee appeared nervous and agitated while speaking with officers. Deputies later described him as frantic and unable to clearly explain what had happened. As investigators processed the scene, forensic technicians used a chemical called Blue Star.
We'll go right outside and talk while there. Yes, fine. Tell me so what's going on? You said you were up there sleeping.
Yeah, I was asleep.
Okay, what was she doing last time you saw her? Do you know around what time you saw her last?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if she but I guess went to take a shower. And then that's it. I was knocked out.
Around what time was that?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Did you work last night or?
No, 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 sir.
Okay. What's with all the broken stuff in there?
The glass just shattered because we left the window open, and so when it got warm, when we reheated the house, it just like exploded. So I was just cleaning that up. So that was before I was going to sleep.
Okay.
I thought she was gonna come down and like finish it up from the dustpan.
which reveals traces of blood even after attempts to clean it. The results were disturbing. The chemical reaction showed that blood had been cleaned from several areas of the house. Additional traces appeared throughout multiple rooms and even inside a vehicle in the garage. In one room, investigators discovered something particularly unsettling. The chemical revealed what appeared to be human handprints embedded in the carpet. The pattern suggested someone may have been trying to push themselves up from the floor or crawl away. He had marks on his face, chest, and hands, consistent with a physical struggle. Meanwhile, Bella's injuries were severe. She had a wound consistent with a stab injury to her abdomen, severe bruising around her eyes and head, and a broken neck. Bruises covered much of her body. Investigators also noted what appeared to be a human bite mark on her shoulder. Bella was transported to the Hamilton County Forensic Center for an autopsy. The medical examiner concluded she died from blunt force trauma to the head. She was only 29 years old, just 3 months away from graduating nursing school. Authorities arrested Darron Lee at the scene and charged him with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. He was denied bond. As investigators looked into Lee's past, they uncovered troubling incidents. At the time of Bella's death, Lee was already on probation in both Florida and Ohio. In 2023, he faced domestic violence charges involving 2 incidents, including one involving his own mother. During Lee's preliminary hearing in March 2026, investigators revealed another disturbing detail. Data from his phone showed that the night before the 9/11 call, Lee had been asking ChatGPT questions about injuries. He asked whether slip-and-fall accidents could cause wounds that resemble stab injuries. Investigators also testified that Lee asked questions about calling 911 while wanting to ensure the situation would be treated as a medical emergency rather than a police matter. The judge later ruled there was enough evidence for the case to move forward. If convicted of first-degree murder in Tennessee, Lee could face the death penalty, life in prison without parole, or life in prison with the possibility of parole after at least 51 years.